Maya was a young girl who lived in a small village at the edge of a great forest, and she always dreamed of adventure beyond the tall trees that surrounded her home. Every morning, she would wake up before the sun rose and climb to the top of the old wooden tower near her house to watch the golden light spread across the land. And she wondered what secrets the world held beyond her tiny village. Her grandmother, who everyone called Nana Rose, often told her stories about a hidden valley that existed somewhere deep within the forest. A magical place where the flowers glowed at night and the rivers sang beautiful songs. Maya loved these stories more than anything else, and she would sit by the fire for hours, listening to every word that came from her grandmother's lips. One cool autumn morning, something strange happened that would change Maya's life forever. She found an old map tucked inside a book that belonged to her grandfather, who had passed away many years before she was born. The map showed a path through the forest, and at the end of that path was a drawing of a valley surrounded by mountains. Maya's heart raced with excitement as she realized this could be the hidden valley from her grandmother's stories. She ran to show her grandmother the discovery, her feet barely touching the ground as she rushed through the small cottage. Nana Rose looked at the map with tears forming in her old eyes, and she told Maya that her grandfather had spent his whole life searching for this valley, but never found it. He believed it was a place of great wonder and healing, a place where magic still existed in the world. Maya knew in that moment that she had to find this valley, not just for herself, but for her grandfather's memory. She spent the next few days preparing for her journey, gathering supplies and studying the map until she knew every marking and every turn by heart. Her grandmother was worried about her going alone into the dangerous forest, but she also understood that some dreams were too powerful to ignore. On the morning of her departure, the whole village came to say goodbye to the brave young girl. Some people thought she was foolish for believing in old stories and maps, but others admired her courage and wished they had the same spirit of adventure. Maya hugged her grandmother tightly and promised to return safely with stories of her own to tell. The forest seemed to swallow her whole as she stepped past the first line of trees. The light changed from bright and warm to dim and green, filtering through countless leaves above her head. Strange sounds filled the air around her, birds calling to each other and small animals rustling through the bushes. Maya felt a shiver run down her spine, but she kept walking forward with determination in her heart. The map led her along a narrow path that wound between ancient trees with trunks as wide as houses. She had never seen trees so old and so tall, and she wondered how many years they had stood watching over this forest. Some of them had faces carved into their bark, strange expressions that seemed to follow her as she walked past. By the time the sun began to set, Maya had traveled deeper into the forest than anyone from her village had ever gone. She found a small clearing near a stream and decided to make camp for the night. The water was crystal clear and so cold that it made her teeth hurt when she took a drink. She gathered some dry wood and started a small fire to keep warm and to keep away any creatures that might be lurking in the darkness. As night fell completely, Maya noticed something magical happening around her. Small lights began to appear among the trees, floating and dancing like tiny stars that had fallen from the sky. She gasped in wonder as hundreds of these lights surrounded her camp, creating a beautiful display that took her breath away. Could these be the glowing flowers from her grandmother's stories, or were they something else entirely? She reached out her hand slowly, and one of the lights came closer to her. It was not a flower at all, but a tiny creature with wings like a butterfly and a body that shone with golden light. The creature landed on her finger and looked up at her with curious eyes. Maya laughed with pure joy, realizing that the magic her grandmother spoke of was real after all. The tiny creature seemed to be trying to tell her something, pointing deeper into the forest with its small, glowing hand. Maya understood that this little being wanted to help her find the hidden valley. She nodded and smiled, grateful for this unexpected guide on her journey. That night, Maya slept better than she had in years, surrounded by the gentle light of her new magical friends. She dreamed of the valley waiting for her somewhere ahead, a place of wonder and mystery that had called to her family for generations. When she woke with the first light of dawn, the tiny creatures were still there, hovering nearby and ready to lead her forward. She packed up her camp quickly, eager to continue her adventure. The little glowing guides flew ahead of her, creating a path of light through the dark forest. Maya followed them with a smile on her face and hope in her heart, knowing that today she would travel even closer to her destination. The forest grew thicker and stranger as she went deeper, with plants she had never seen before and sounds she could not identify. But she was not afraid because she knew she was on the right path, following both the map and her magical companions. Her grandfather had searched for this place his whole life, and now she was closer than he had ever been. As the morning passed into afternoon, Maya began to notice changes in the forest around her. The air felt different somehow, lighter and sweeter, and the colors of the leaves seemed brighter and more alive. Even the birds sang more beautifully here, their songs echoing through the trees like a symphony of nature. She knew deep in her heart that she was getting close to something wonderful. The tiny creatures flew faster now, clearly excited about something ahead. Maya ran to keep up with them, her heart pounding with anticipation. What would she find at the end of this journey, and would it be everything she had dreamed it would be? The glowing creatures led Maya through a tunnel of twisted vines and hanging moss that blocked out almost all the light from above. She had to crawl on her hands and knees for what felt like forever, pushing through the thick vegetation while her guides waited patiently ahead. Just when she thought the tunnel would never end, she emerged into the most breathtaking sight she had ever witnessed. Before her stretched a vast valley surrounded by towering mountains that seemed to touch the clouds. Waterfalls cascaded down the rocky cliffs, creating rainbows in the mist where the sunlight hit the water. Fields of flowers in every color imaginable covered the valley floor, and in the center stood a lake so blue that it looked like a piece of the sky had fallen to earth. Maya stood frozen in amazement, unable to believe that such a beautiful place could actually exist. The tiny glowing creatures danced around her head, clearly happy to have brought her to their home. Maya laughed and thanked them, her voice echoing across the peaceful valley. She walked slowly down the hillside, wanting to remember every detail of this incredible discovery. The grass beneath her feet was soft like the finest carpet, and the air smelled of honey and flowers. As she approached the lake, Maya now noticed that she was not alone in this valley. Strange and wonderful animals roamed the fields, creatures she had only heard about in fairy tales. There were deer with silver antlers that sparkled in the sunlight, rabbits with fur that changed colors as they hopped, and birds with feathers that seemed to be made of pure gold. None of these animals ran from her. Instead, they watched her with friendly curiosity. Near the edge of the lake, Maya discovered a small cottage made of white stone with a roof covered in flowers. Smoke rose from its chimney, and she could smell something delicious cooking inside. Who could possibly live in this hidden place, so far from the rest of the world? She walked up to the door with her heart beating fast and knocked 3 times. The door opened to reveal an old woman with kind eyes and long silver hair that reached all the way to the floor. She smiled at Maya as if she had been expecting her for a long time. The woman introduced herself as Elena, the guardian of the hidden valley, and she invited Maya inside for a warm meal and a chance to rest her tired feet. The inside of the cottage was cozy and filled with books and strange objects that Maya could not identify. Elena served her a bowl of soup that tasted like nothing she had ever eaten before, filling her with warmth and energy. As they sat together by the fire, the old guardian asked Maya how she had found this place that had remained hidden for so many centuries. Maya told Elena about the map, about her grandmother's stories, and about her grandfather, who had searched for this valley his whole life. Elena listened carefully, nodding her head and smiling at certain parts of the story. When Maya finished, the Guardian revealed something that made the young girl gasp with surprise. Elena had known Maya's grandfather many years ago, when he was just a young man full of dreams and adventure. He had come close to finding the valley once, closer than anyone else had ever come. But he had to turn back because he had a family waiting for him, a wife who needed him and a daughter who would grow up to become Maya's mother. He had kept the secret of his journey all his life, hoping that someday someone in his family would finish what he started. Tears rolled down Maya's cheeks as she learned this truth about her grandfather. He had sacrificed his greatest dream for the people he loved, and now she was here to honor his memory. Elena reached out and held Maya's hand gently, telling her that her grandfather would be so proud of her courage and determination. The Guardian then explained why this valley had remained hidden from the outside world. Long ago, when magic still flowed freely through the land, this valley was a place where creatures of wonder could live in peace. But as the world changed and people forgot about magic, the valley needed to be protected from those who might harm it. A powerful spell was cast to hide it from ordinary eyes, and only those with pure hearts and true purpose could ever find the entrance. Maya asked if she could stay in the valley and learn about its magic, and Elena smiled with joy at the request. She said that she had waited for someone like Maya for a very long time, someone young and brave who could help protect this special place. The Guardian was old now, and she needed someone to eventually take her place as the valley's protector. Over the following days, Elena taught Maya many things about the hidden valley and its inhabitants. She learned the names of all the magical creatures and how to care for them. She discovered that the glowing flowers could heal any sickness, and that the water from the lake could show visions of faraway places. Every corner of the valley held new wonders waiting to be explored. Maya also learned about the ancient magic that protected the valley from harm. Elena showed her the sacred stones that stood at the four corners of the valley, each one carved with symbols that pulsed with power. These stones created an invisible barrier that kept the valley safe and hidden from the outside world. But the magic was growing weaker over time, and soon it would need to be renewed. The young girl practiced using small spells under Elena's patient guidance. At first, she could only make tiny sparks of light appear in her palms, but with each passing day, her abilities grew stronger. She learned to speak with the animals, to make the flowers bloom with a touch, and to call the wind when she needed it. The magic flowed through her like water through a river, natural and free. One evening, as they watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and orange, Elena told Maya about a great danger that threatened the valley. Someone from the outside world had learned of its existence and was searching for a way to break through the protective barrier. This person wanted to capture the magical creatures and take the valley's power for themselves. Maya felt fear grip her heart as she heard this terrible news. She had only just found this beautiful place, and now someone wanted to destroy it. She asked Elena what they could do to stop this threat, and the Guardian's answer surprised her completely. Elena explained that the only way to save the valley was to strengthen the ancient magic of the sacred stones. This required a journey to the top of the highest mountain, where a special flower grew that bloomed only once every 100 years. The flower was about to bloom again, and its power could renew the valley's protection for another century. But the journey was dangerous, and Elena was too old to make the climb herself. Maya knew immediately what she had to do, and she told Elena that she would climb the mountain and bring back the flower. The Guardian warned her that the path was treacherous and filled with challenges, but Maya was not afraid. She had come too far and discovered too much to give up now. She would save the hidden valley or die trying. That night, Maya barely slept as she prepared for her most difficult challenge yet. She packed supplies, studied the path up the mountain, and practiced her new magical abilities. The glowing creatures gathered around her, and she knew that some of them would accompany her on this dangerous journey. When dawn finally came, she was ready to face whatever awaited her on the mountain. The mountain loomed before Maya like a giant reaching toward the heavens, its peak hidden in clouds that never seemed to move. Elena stood at the base of the rocky path, her old hands clasped together in worry. She gave Maya a small crystal pendant that had belonged to her own teacher many generations ago, telling her it would light her way in the darkest places and warn her of danger nearby. Maya hugged the guardian tightly and promised to return with the magical flower. Her small band of glowing companions circled around her head, ready to face any danger alongside their human friend. With one last look at the beautiful valley below, she began her climb up the ancient mountain path. The first part of the journey was not too difficult, with wide stone steps carved into the mountainside by hands long forgotten. Maya walked steadily upward, conserving her energy for the harder parts that she knew lay ahead. The glowing creatures flew beside her, their light bouncing off the rocky walls and creating dancing shadows all around. As she climbed higher, the air grew colder and thinner, making each breath feel like hard work. Maya wrapped her cloak tighter around her shoulders and kept moving forward. She passed through caves filled with crystals that sang when the wind blew through them, creating music more beautiful than any instrument could make. She crossed bridges made of vines stretched over bottomless chasms, trying not to look down at the terrifying drop below. By midday, Maya reached a plateau where she decided to rest and eat some of the food she had packed. The view from this height was incredible, and she could see the entire hidden valley spread out below her like a painting. The lake sparkled in the center, and she could just make out the white stone cottage where Elena was probably watching and hoping for her success. As she finished her meal, Maya heard a sound that made her blood run cold. A deep growling echoed from somewhere nearby, and the glowing creatures began to fly in panicked circles. Maya jumped to her feet and grabbed her walking staff, ready to defend herself against whatever beast was approaching. From behind a large boulder emerged a creature unlike anything Maya had ever seen or heard about. It had the body of a great cat that was covered in scales that shimmered with dark purple and black. Its eyes burned like hot coals, and smoke rose from its nostrils with every breath. This was a shadow cat, one of the most dangerous creatures that lived on the mountain. Maya remembered what Elena had told her about these beasts. They were not evil by nature, but were fiercely protective of their territory. The only way to pass safely was to show no fear and offer something of value. Maya's hands trembled as she reached into her bag and pulled out a golden apple she had picked from the valley's orchards. She held the apple out toward the shadow cat, speaking in a calm and gentle voice. She told the creature that she meant no harm and only wished to pass through its territory on an important quest. The shadow cat stopped growling and tilted its massive head, studying her with those burning eyes. For a long moment, nothing moved except the wind. Then something amazing happened that Maya would never forget. The shadow cat walked forward slowly and took the apple from her hand with surprising gentleness. As it ate the magical fruit, its scales seemed to brighten and its eyes grew less fierce. When it finished, the creature made a sound almost like a purr and stepped aside to let Maya pass. She thanked the beast with a bow and continued on her way, her heart still racing from the encounter. The path grew steeper and more treacherous as the afternoon wore on. Maya had to use her hands to climb in many places, pulling herself up over jagged rocks while her glowing friends guided her to the safest handholds. Her muscles ached and her fingers were scraped raw, but she refused to give up. The thought of the valley being destroyed pushed her forward when her body wanted to quit. As the sun began to set, Maya reached a cave that seemed to lead straight through the heart of the mountain. Elena had warned her about this cave, saying it was home to ancient spirits who would test anyone who entered. Maya lit a small magical fire in her palm, the way Elena had taught her, and stepped into the darkness. The cave was cold and damp, and strange whispers seemed to come from the walls themselves. Maya walked carefully, her light casting long shadows that danced and shifted around her. The glowing creatures stayed close to her shoulders, their light mixing with hers to push back the darkness. Suddenly, the whispers grew louder and formed into words that Maya could understand. The spirits asked her why she dared to enter their domain, and she answered truthfully. She told them about the hidden valley, about Elena, and about the magical flower she needed to save everyone. The spirits listened in silence, their invisible presence pressing in around her from all sides. Then the spirits gave Maya a challenge that would test her worthiness. They showed her a vision of two paths leading out of the cave. One path was short and easy, leading quickly to the mountain peak. The other path was long and dangerous, filled with obstacles and hardships. But the spirits revealed that taking the easy path would mean abandoning her glowing companions, who could not survive that route. Maya did not even hesitate in her decision. She chose the difficult path without a second thought, refusing to leave her friends behind for her own comfort. The spirits seemed pleased by her choice, and their whispers turned from cold to warm. They told her that she had a pure heart worthy of the valley's protection, and they blessed her journey with their ancient power. When Maya emerged from the cave on the other side of the mountain, she felt stronger than before. The spirits had given her courage and determination that filled every part of her being. The glowing creatures danced around her happily, grateful that she had chosen them over an easier path. Together they faced the final stretch of the climb. The peak was now visible above them, gleaming white with snow and ice. Maya knew the magical flower grew somewhere up there, waiting for her to find it. But between her and the summit stood the most dangerous part of the journey. A narrow ridge of ice and rock stretched across a gap between two cliffs, with freezing winds trying to blow anything off into the abyss below. Maya took a deep breath and stepped onto the ridge. The wind immediately attacked her, pushing and pulling with incredible force. She dropped to her hands and knees and crawled forward inch by inch, her fingers going numb from the cold ice beneath them. The glowing creatures flew as close to her as they could, trying to warm her with their gentle light. Halfway across the ridge, a piece of ice broke beneath Maya's hand, and she slipped. For one terrifying moment, she hung over the edge of the abyss, her legs dangling over nothing. She screamed and grabbed desperately at the ice, her nails digging in with all her remaining strength. The glowing creatures surrounded her, and somehow their combined light seemed to give her the energy she needed. With a mighty effort, Maya pulled herself back onto the ridge and lay there gasping for breath. Her whole body shook with fear and exhaustion, but she could not stop now. She forced herself to keep crawling forward, one hand at a time, until finally she reached solid ground on the other side. Maya collapsed on the snowy ground and cried tears of relief and exhaustion. She had made it past the most dangerous part, and now only a short climb remained between her and the magical flower. After resting for a few minutes, she stood up on shaking legs and began the final ascent. The peak awaited her, and she would not be stopped. The summit of the mountain was a flat circle of white snow surrounded by jagged rocks that reached up like frozen fingers. Maya stumbled onto this sacred ground as the lost light of day painted the sky in brilliant shades of red and gold. Her body was exhausted beyond anything she had ever experienced, but her spirit burned brighter than ever before. In the very center of the summit, protected by a ring of ancient stones, grew a single plant unlike anything Maya had ever seen. Its stem was made of pure silver, and its leaves sparkled with colors that seemed to shift and change with every passing moment. At the top of the plant sat a bud that was just beginning to open, revealing petals that glowed with the light of 1,000 stars. Maya, approached the magical flower with tears of joy streaming down her frozen cheeks. She had done it. She had actually reached the summit and found the legendary bloom that would save the hidden valley. The glowing creatures circled around her and the flower, creating a beautiful display of light and color in the gathering darkness. But as Maya reached out to touch the flower, a terrible voice echoed across the mountaintop and froze her in place. She turned to see a figure emerging from the shadows behind the rocks. A tall man dressed in dark robes with eyes as cold as the ice beneath her feet. This was the enemy Elena had warned her about, the one who wanted to destroy the valley and steal its magic. The man laughed cruelly and told Maya that he had been following her the entire journey, waiting for her to lead him to the flower. He thanked her for doing all the hard work and said he would be taking the magical bloom for himself. His hands began to glow with dark energy as he walked toward her with slow, confident steps. Maya stood between the man and the flower, her whole body trembling, but her feet refusing to move. She told him she would not let him take the flower or harm the valley, even if it cost her everything. The man laughed again and called her a foolish child, saying she had no power to stop someone like him. But Maya was not the same girl who had left her village so many days ago. She had learned magic from Elena, faced the Shadow Cat with courage, and passed the test of the ancient spirits. She raised her hands and called upon all the power she had gathered on her journey. Light exploded from her palms, pushing the dark man back several steps. The battle that followed was fierce and terrifying. The man hurled bolts of dark energy at Maya, as she blocked them with shields of golden light. The glowing creatures attacked him from all sides, distracting him and giving Maya precious moments to catch her breath. The summit became a battleground of light and darkness, two forces crashing against each other like ocean waves. Maya was strong, but the dark man had practiced his evil magic for many years. Slowly he began to overpower her, his attacks growing stronger while her defenses grew weaker. She fell to her knees, her energy almost completely drained. The man stood over her with a triumphant smile, ready to destroy her and claim his prize. In that desperate moment, Maya remembered the crystal pendant that Elena had given her. She grabbed it in her fist and called out for help with all her remaining strength. The pendant began to glow with intense white light, and suddenly Maya felt a surge of power unlike anything before. It was as if Elena herself was standing beside her, lending her strength and wisdom. Maya rose to her feet and faced the dark man one final time. Her eyes blazed with light, and her hands crackled with energy that seemed to come from the very heart of the mountain. The man's confident smile faded into fear as he realized he had underestimated this young girl. He tried to attack, but Maya was faster. She unleashed a wave of pure light that struck the dark man with incredible force. He screamed as the energy surrounded him, burning away his dark magic like morning sunlight burns away mist. When the light faded, the man had vanished, banished to some distant place where he could never threaten the valley again. Maya collapsed onto the snow, completely drained but victorious. The glowing creatures rushed to her side, their warm light helping to revive her tired body. She lay there for a long time, watching the stars appear one by one in the darkening sky above. The magical flower continued to bloom beside her, its petals now fully open and radiating gentle power. She had won, but she was too exhausted to feel anything but relief. When Maya finally gathered enough strength to sit up, she carefully picked the magical flower from its silver stem. The moment she touched it, she felt warmth spread through her entire body, healing her wounds and restoring her energy. The flower was more powerful than she had imagined, and she understood why Elena needed it to protect the valley. The journey back down the mountain was much easier than the climb up. The path seemed to flatten before her, and obstacles that had blocked her way were now mysteriously gone. Maya suspected that the mountain itself was helping her, grateful that she had protected its precious treasure from falling into evil hands. When she reached the plateau where she had faced the shadow cat, the great beast was waiting for her. But instead of threatening her, the creature lowered its massive head in respect. Maya reached out and touched its scaly forehead, and for a moment, they shared a connection that went beyond words. The shadow cat would forever be her ally, she knew. As dawn broke over the hidden valley, Maya finally emerged from the forest path and saw Elena waiting at the cottage door. The old guardian cried out with joy and ran to embrace her young student. They held each other for a long time, neither one wanting to let go. Maya had returned safely, and she had brought the magical flower that would save everything they loved. Elena examined the flower with wonder in her ancient eyes, saying she had never seen one so beautiful or so powerful. She told Maya that the renewal ceremony must be performed immediately, before the flower's magic began to fade. Together they walked to the sacred stones at the corners of the valley, ready to begin the most important ritual the valley had seen in 100 years. At each stone, Elena spoke ancient words while Maya held the flower high above her head. The flower's light flowed into the stones, making them glow with renewed power. The invisible barrier around the valley grew stronger with each passing moment, weaving itself tighter and brighter. Animals and creatures from all across the valley gathered to watch this magnificent event. When they reached the final stone, Elena turned to Maya with a serious expression. She said that completing the ritual required a choice that only Maya could make. To fully renew the valley's protection, someone with a pure heart had to promise to stay and become its next guardian. Elena was asking Maya to give up her old life and dedicate herself to protecting this magical place forever. Maya thought about her grandmother waiting in the village, about the life she would be leaving behind. But she also thought about all the wonderful creatures who depended on this valley, about the magic that would be lost if no one protected it. She looked at Elena, at the glowing creatures who had become her friends, and at the beautiful valley spread out before her. With tears in her eyes but certainty in her heart, Maya made her decision. She would become the new guardian of the hidden valley, protecting its magic for generations to come. Elena smiled with pride and placed her weathered hands over Maya's young ones. Together, they spoke the final words of the ritual, and the valley exploded with light. The light from the renewal ceremony spread across the entire valley like a wave of pure magic. Every flower glowed brighter, every stream sang louder, and every creature felt the surge of new energy flowing through the land. Maya stood at the center of it all, feeling the valley's magic connect with her heart in a way she could never have imagined. She was no longer just a visitor here. She was part of this place now. Elena watched her young successor with pride and love shining in her ancient eyes. She told Maya that she had made the right choice, the brave choice. The valley had been waiting for someone like her for a very long time, someone with courage and kindness in equal measure. Maya would be a wonderful guardian, perhaps the greatest one the valley had ever known. In the days that followed, Elena taught Maya everything she would need to know as the new protector of this magical place. She learned the names of every flower and every creature, the history of every stone and every stream. She discovered secret paths and hidden caves that even the animals did not know about. The valley revealed itself to her completely, welcoming her as its new caretaker. But there was one thing that still weighed heavily on Maya's heart. She missed her grandmother terribly and could not bear the thought of never seeing her again. Elena noticed the sadness in her eyes and asked what troubled her. When Maya explained, the old guardian smiled and revealed a wonderful secret. Elena led Maya to a small pool hidden behind a waterfall at the edge of the valley. She told her that this pool had the power to create a window between worlds, allowing people in the valley to see and speak with those they loved on the outside. Maya could use this pool to visit with her grandmother whenever she wished, even if they could never physically be together again. Maya knelt beside the pool and whispered her grandmother's name. The water began to shimmer and ripple, and suddenly she could see Nana Rose sitting in her cottage by the fire. Her grandmother looked up in surprise. Then her face broke into the biggest smile Maya had ever seen. They talked for hours, laughing and crying and sharing everything that had happened. Nana Rose was not sad that Maya had chosen to stay in the valley. She was proud beyond words that her granddaughter had found the place their family had searched for across generations. She said that Maya's grandfather was surely smiling down from wherever spirits went after they passed. Maya promised to visit through the pool as often as she could, and Nana Rose said she would be waiting every single time. As the seasons changed in the Hidden Valley, Maya grew into her role as guardian. She helped sick creatures heal with the glowing flowers. She settled disputes between different animal families, and she made sure every corner of the valley remained safe and beautiful. The magical beings came to love her as much as they had loved Elena, maybe even more. Elena stayed in the valley for another full year, making sure Maya was ready to protect the place on her own. They spent long evenings together by the fire, sharing stories and laughter like grandmother and granddaughter. Maya knew that someday Elena would leave to find her own peace, but she treasured every moment they had together. When the time finally came for Elena to depart, there were no tears of sadness between them. Elena told Maya that she was going to join the ancient spirits who dwelled in the heart of the mountain. She would become part of the magic that protected the valley, watching over Maya and all the creatures she loved. It was not an ending but a transformation, a new chapter in an endless story. Maya stood at the edge of the valley and watched Elena walk slowly toward the mountain. The old guardian seemed to grow younger with every step, her silver hair turning golden and her bent back straightening. By the time she reached the mountain's base, she looked like a young woman full of life and light. She turned one final time and waved to Maya, then stepped into the stone and disappeared. For a moment, Maya felt alone in a way she had never experienced. But then the glowing creatures gathered around her, and the animals of the valley came to stand by her side. The trees seemed to lean closer, and the wind whispered words of comfort. She was the guardian now, and she would never truly be alone as long as the valley existed. Years passed in the Hidden Valley, each one bringing new adventures and new challenges. Maya faced storms that threatened to flood the meadows. She drove away hunters who came too close to the border, and she helped welcome new magical creatures who found their way to this safe haven. She grew wise and strong, becoming everything Elena had hoped she would be. Sometimes, travelers would stumble near the valley's entrance, drawn by rumors and old legends. Maya would watch them from behind the magical barrier, deciding whether their hearts were pure enough to enter. Most of the time, she turned them away gently, sending them home with no memory of what they had found. But occasionally, very rarely, she would invite someone special inside. One autumn day, Maya saw a young boy wandering through the forest near the hidden tunnel. He carried an old map in his hands and had a look of determination in his eyes. Maya studied him carefully and felt something familiar about his spirit. When she examined the map more closely, her heart nearly stopped. It was a copy of her grandfather's map, drawn by her own grandmother's hand. The boy was her sister's grandson, Maya realized with overwhelming joy. Nana Rose had passed away many years ago, but before she did, she had given the map to Maya's sister along with stories of the Hidden Valley. Now a new generation had come searching for the magical place, just as Maya had done so long ago. Maya appeared before the boy and saw the shock and wonder on his young face. She smiled warmly and asked if he would like to see something truly magical. The boy nodded eagerly, unable to speak from amazement. Maya took his hand and led him through the tunnel of vines, just as she had been led so many years before. When they emerged into the valley, the boy gasped at the beauty surrounding them. The glowing creatures flew down to greet him, and the silver-antlered deer approached without fear. Maya watched him take it all in, remembering exactly how she had felt the first time she saw this place. The wonder never faded, no matter how many times she witnessed someone discovering it. She told the boy the story of their family's connection to this valley, about his great-great-grandfather who had searched for it and his great-great-grandmother who had found it. She explained that some people were meant to find this place and that he was one of those special souls. The boy listened with tears of joy running down his cheeks. Maya knew in that moment that she had found her own successor, just as Elena had found her. The cycle would continue, generation after generation, with pure-hearted guardians protecting this place of wonder. She would teach the boy everything she knew, and someday he would take her place and find his own student. As the sun set over the hidden valley, painting the sky in colors too beautiful for words, Maya felt complete happiness fill her heart. She had lived an extraordinary life, full of magic and adventure and love. She had honored her grandfather's dream, protected countless innocent creatures, and now she would pass on her knowledge to the next generation. The glowing creatures danced around her and the boy as they walked toward the white stone cottage. Animals of every kind followed behind them, creating a joyful parade through the flower-covered meadows. The valley itself seemed to celebrate, every leaf and petal and blade of grass shimmering with magical light. Maya looked up at the mountain where Elena and all the guardians before her had become part of the eternal magic. She silently thanked them for leading her to this incredible destiny. Then she opened the cottage door and invited the boy inside, ready to begin the next chapter of an endless, wonderful story. The hidden valley would be protected forever, she knew, because that was the promise passed down from heart to heart, guardian to guardian, through all the ages of the world.